To the agenda, there was an oversight. There is to be a presentation tonight. The Linesville Historical Society, Lynn Reeve, under item number 4. The request was in before the deadline. So that will be in addition to what's on the existing agenda. Any other additions or deletions? Hearing none, can we have a motion to approve the agenda? Councillor Korkloff, Councillor Geselbrecht, thank you. Discussion? Hearing none, all is in favor? Opposed? Motion carried. March the 30th, 2016 Committee of the Whole meeting minutes.
So moved.
Was presented by Councillor Korkloff, seconded by Councillor Neary. Discussion? Hearing none, all is in favor? Opposed? Motion carried. March the 30th regular council meeting minutes.
So moved.
Councillor Korkloff, seconded by Councillor Swain. Thank you. Discussion? Hearing none, all is in favor? Opposed? Motion carried. April the 4th Committee of the Whole meeting minutes. Councillor Swain is presented, seconded by Councillor Geselbrecht. Discussion? Hearing none, all is in favor? Opposed? Motion carried. Which gets us to item number 4. Then, presentation regarding the 100th anniversary of Jack Grant Funding Coal.
Yes. And because it's 100th anniversary, we thought we should do something to celebrate, or to mark the occasion. We thought about a celebration, decided no, the best thing to do is something simple that people can do on their own. And we came up with the idea of doing a self-directed walk with a brochure to point out the spots, and then have the old original photographs on a website that people can access with those camera or those phones that they wander around with.
Yeah. This is kind of similar to the museum ones where they used to have the things you used to hold up to your ear and it would tell you about the thing that's in front of you. It's just...
Yeah, but we start with a brochure so you know all the spots to stop.
Yeah. Okay. Okay.
We're open to suggestions and ideas. We'd like to have it put together by the end of June.
Okay, balance. Councillor Hain.
And where will people be able to pick up the brochures?
Well, we were sort of hoping they could pick them up from your front office.
Oh, okay.
But it would be nice if we had a place as well that was open on a weekend.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Resale.
Yeah, they're open when you're not, aren't they? And vice versa.
You know, well, this might be put together for the anniversary. This would be something that could be ongoing. Correct?
Yes, yes.
Something that just kind of, after sitting through the village core discussions over those times, one of the things they talked about was footprints down to the beach and that sort of an aspect. You know, something to think about is if there's multiple points along the walk, whether or not it's possible to put.
We thought about that and wondered how we do it, because the roads, a lot of them aren't footprintable.
Yeah.
And where, if you did markers, where would you put them without them infringing on private property or traffic?
Yeah, but that's certainly something that, in my opinion, could be discussed with Public Works to see if there's some way that it can work. Councillor Copeland?
No, I was going to say something similar. I'm curious, were you thinking at least this time around there'd be a temporary marker there?
No, we thought we could do it with a brochure.
Just the brochure, okay.
And it would, this one would be mine, because there's endless possibilities for other tourists, and they seem to be popular all over the place. Everywhere you go, there's a walking tour of some kind.
Would be nice if there could be something, even if it's small, would be permanent though.
Yeah. Because you put it on the internet, it's there forever, right?
That's right. And everybody pretty much carries a phone. I do. Most people do.
Councillor Visible?
Well, Nanaimo has a big chunk of coal down there by the float plains, and Mayor Bates and Coal Tyee statues. We have the coal cart here. We don't have a big chunk of coal, do we?
It's a big rock.
You suggest we go steal their coal? Well, no. That's something the rugby club would, but why not get a chunk of coal? There must be some landfill coal around here, and then...
We've never managed to find a big piece. We find a lot of small pieces, but never a big one.
glue them together.
But a big one that we found is the size of my fist, nothing bigger, that's big. They're that small.
Down at Eagle Point, I've seen bigger ones than that.
Oh, okay.
I'll go looking.
Councillor Hain.
Two questions. Is not the end point of the walking tour going to be where the rock is right now in the plaque?
No, we'll do it as a circle.
Okay.
Walking tours are better for circles.
And then the other thing I might suggest is you put the brochure on the district's website. Then if we do come up with an idea for something on the ground, people could go to the district website and find the brochure and use it on their phone.
And I think the plan is to have it on the historical site. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Which we can certainly link to from
Yeah.
the district website as well as other sites. Councillor Olson.
Are the destinations geocache friendly? You know, my kiddies love geocaching, so
You're talking to somebody who's old.
treasure hunting with phones.
Remember, I don't have a phone.
It's like a treasure hunt, basically.
It could work if we had the technology to do it.
No?
John's offered.
Yeah. I just wasn't sure what the destinations were and if they'd be suitable for such thing. 'Cause
You have to have
you can
someplace,
generate some traffic.
you have to have someplace secure to put them, though, right?
Well, you hide it in a variety of size boxes, and like the bigger ones, there's trinkets and stuff inside. And so my kids take something out, they leave something back in, but you know, the coordinates only get you within about a 5 to 10 meter radius, and so then you're searching for where the box or cache.
Yeah, I have found one out on a trail, but how would you hide it on a Lansdale Street?
Well, that's why I was curious if the sites are.
There's a couple that are pretty rough, but they're all on private property.
Oh, yeah, that's not suitable then. Yeah.
Councillor Neer.
Oh, thank you, Your Worship, through you to Ms. Reid. Thank you for sharing this information with us. I think it's a great idea. I'd like to let you know that part of Minetown Days this year will be a celebration of 100 years of coal in Lansdale. I think the geocaching might be a bit ambitious at this point, but I would be really interested to review how this pans out down the road, because I think it's a really interesting concept that maybe, you know, if this is kind of viewed as a pilot, could lead to possibly other interpretive walks of this kind that could be undertaken maybe under the auspices of Parks and Rec. So I'll be really interested to check in with you and see how that works out and how, you know, how many. I don't know if you'll be able to track how many people actually complete the walk. And that's a question that's just risen in my mind.
Yeah, I hadn't thought of that.
So it might seem like a real success, but unless you've got numbers, you'll never know, will you? Is there any way that you think? But you're like me, you're technically challenged, I think.
But
So.
we could probably put a counter on the information on the website.
Yeah, and
That
that would
would tell us
show
how many people
inquiries.
walked into
Yeah.
And how
Okay.
many people picked up the brochures?
Yeah. I think it's a great concept, and I wish you luck with it.
Ever anyone around for help if we need it? Thank you, Bob.
Councillor Hildebrand.
Yes, no, I would be willing to help on that as well. Has the Historical Society ever set up a booth at Minetown Days?
Every year for the last 30-odd years.
I must have been at that pie eating contest, the watermelon contest. Sorry. Yeah, okay, great.
Yeah.
Councillor Corwin.
I think this is a fantastic idea. Just something where it could go is I participated 2 weekends ago in something in Nanaimo called Where Is Here? And what they did was they had people, and I don't know how they got my name, but they got my name and I said yes. So basically they asked people, where is your downtown spot, your go-to place? And mine happens to be McLean's Foods. So what they did was we met groups of 4 to 6 people, and they left every hour or something like that. And you'd go to your spot, and they would, just with a phone, they would take a short video of you standing in front of your spot. So when on my tour there was the archives, the art gallery, the waterfront, and McLean's. So they ended up with 4 people 4 short videos. They were like a minute, and just talking about your spot and why you're there. And it's going to go onto a website where people who can go on a walking tour of downtown Nanaimo can actually click on the button, and they're going to see me standing in front of planes talking about why it's my place. So
That could
that
still
would
be
be
going there.
Pardon? Yeah, it might. But I just think from a historical point of view, if, when it's not this particular week and somebody comes to Lanceville, they'd be able to go and, you can do it on your phone, you can click on it and it'll tell you why you're there or what's there. So I think it's a great idea.
And Brian is working on doing the write-ups.
Oh,
Just a question to Mr. McCrae with regards to the ideas and thoughts about placements and things like that. I'm assuming there wouldn't be any requirement in any direction for us for kind of those initial discussions to see if it's feasible.
Through your worship, no, any placement will be an operational decision.
Yeah. Okay. So basically, if you're thinking in terms of permanent placement of some sort in that regards, liaison with Fred or Mr. McCrae and get that done.
Sounds good. Great.
Any other questions from council? Comments? Thank you very much, Lynn. Okay, next item under correspondence, with respect to it, there is the RDN is looking for a motion with respect to the Regional Parks and Trails Service Area Amendment Bylaw 1231.05, and it has to do with the Regional Parks and Trails function at the RDN. Let's refer to it as an administrative oversight. About 2 years ago, there was actually an approval of an increase to the Regional Parks and Trails parcel tax. It was not implemented at the proper time, and so the board has looked to implement it now. So the regional board has voted to increase the parcel tax according to the schedule, but recognizing there's different service participants there, it needs to go to the participants for approval separately. So they'd be looking for a motion as detailed in the agenda with regards to the amendment bylaw 1231.05. Questions, comments, motions? Councilor Murray?
So this is a housekeeping kind of.
Yes and no.
Administratively enabling.
From the RDN side, it's housekeeping because the RDN board, in fact, considered it quite a while ago. It never, my understanding is it never made it here because it never kind of made it out of there. So it's technically first time for here, even though it's been previously seen a while ago.
And has it been implemented?
It would be implemented with this taxation.
It only goes from 2016, obviously, but
Well,
it really.
Yes, at the $13.
Okay.
Councilor Hayman.
So what do we get out of this? So is this to be parks and trails money used in the rural areas? Or are we going to see some funding to assist with the foothills? Or how do we get a return on our money every year?
Okay, well, first of all, it does fund regional parks and trails, so therefore anywhere within the region itself, so places like Norcroft and that were partially paid for through the regional parks and trail function. The regional parks and trail function is extending the E&N trail. There's a large section being done up in District 69 this year. There is a separate portion of the funds that's allocated towards municipalities that municipalities can apply for.
Of this amount?
Of what amount?
From this amount?
From those funds, yes.
Okay.
When it comes to the regional board, there's a bit of a difference of opinion on where some of the money should go. So at one point, a while back, there was a separate area allocated specifically for municipalities. So for example, if we went to expand Union Trail, we could apply for some of the funding to come from there. On top of that, on more of an informal basis, we've had some discussions with Tom Osborne at the RDN with respect to the Foothills Park, let's call it. Because realistically, we don't have the capacity to manage a park of that size, and it is of more regional significance. So I would fully expect the district to be approaching the regional body to partner or otherwise with respect to that park. Councillor Gisbert?
I know nothing about this. What do we pay now, and what will this mean for Joe Public?
Okay, what do we pay now? $13 per parcel is what we pay currently.
And what's it called?
The Regional Parks and Trails parcel tax. What do we get out of it? There are no regional parks directly in Lanceau, but if you go to Moorcroft up in the Neuse, that's a regional park. Mount Benson is part of it as well. Are some
Neck
of the
Point?
better known ones.
Neck Point?
No, that's a city park. In terms of the region itself, it's contributed by all the participants, contribute the parcel tax to it. There's been, if we went back a number of years, it was more or less strictly for acquisition. A couple of years ago, there was some change to where it was less emphasis on acquisition, more emphasis on development of existing parks in that regard. It will likely come up as part of a discussion revolving around what's called a regional services review at the RDN in the next year or so.
So it's $14 per household?
Per parcel.
Okay.
Any other questions?
So basically, they're looking for $1 raise per year.
Certain
years.
Yeah.
Yeah, and even that recognizing, so if we go in and do a full regional services review, that'll be bundled into it, because there appears to be some difference of opinion as to the utilization of those monies. Councillor Gisbert.
So I move that our council here in Lanceville consent to the adoption of the quote regional district of Nanaimo Regional Parks and Trails Service Area amendment bylaw number 151.05, comma 2016 close quotes by the regional district of Nanaimo board semicolon, and further instruct staff to notify the regional district of Nanaimo, comma accordingly, period.
Second by Councillor Sweeney. Discussion.
I love the punctuation we have. We forgot to mention it's in bold.
Or the spaces. Any discussion? Okay, hearing none. All those in favor? Opposed? Motion carried. Exclamation. Thank you. And this might be the thing you were talking about. It is. The parking lot. Second item deals with the Island Corridor Foundation. Right now, when it comes to the Island Corridor Foundation, there's an Island Corridor Foundation board. There's also separately Island Corridor Foundation members representatives. The board meets on a regular basis. The members representatives have pretty much just kind of attended on the annual general meeting. Recently, all of a sudden, the Island Corridor Foundation issued this letter wanting to create a local government liaison committee. With all due respect to them, I suspect it has more to do with the trying to get ahead of some of the actions of the regional district board in terms of pulling funding, dealing with some complaints from Stu Young of Langford. The biggest challenge is that they haven't really defined what this group is to do. And from the regional side, I think we're going to request a further definition as to what the purpose of this committee is. Councillor Gisbert.
As I shared with the mayor, the day after, or the 2 days after the regional district served their 60-day notice, the Southern Railway and its agents stopped at every intersection and had a stencil and a big yellow spray paint, active railway, no trespassing. So I immediately trespassed, hoping that I will be arrested to bring this matter to the courts, but I was nobody apprehended me. I think they're being pissy on this. However, I would nominate myself, but be it known that I am only in favor of tearing the rails out and putting a bike path up the island for everybody to use. So be warned.
If we wait 5 years, we won't have to tear them out, you'll just blow them and they'll
I'm
decompose.
not sure how to respond to that, or if there's a need.
You're saying to wait.
There's the board, they have their function, the members' representatives have somewhat of a more limited function. I'm still not sure what this group is to do. So, Councillor Neary, anything?
Thank you, Your Worship. Yeah, you mentioned that there was some expectation that there would be clarification forthcoming on what the purpose or, the terms of reference and the mandates of this committee would be.
Yeah.
Do you know when
No,
that might
no.
be forthcoming?
The interesting thing is that this letter was attached to an email that seemed to kind of express some urgency to deal with this. And when it comes to the, like the middle paragraph, there's a misunderstanding about the highly regulated environment of the ICF operates within and how rates and fees are set by whom. To me, almost feel like when it comes to this committee, you're going to walk in, they're going to say, well, this is what we do, go home. Whether or not that's the case, we don't know. But time frame wise, don't know. There's a couple events coming up. One is the AGM of the ICF is towards the end of April. The Regional District Board has requested a members' representatives meeting under the bylaws. The first response on the part of the ICF was to go talk to their lawyer as opposed to calling the meeting. So that's bought them a little bit of time, but now another letter's gone in. So there'll be some action at those levels that may either clarify the need for this or the makeup of this.
Could you give me an idea of what the makeup of the ICF is? I know that there is a mayor there. I know the mayor of Nanaimo, City of Nanaimo is a member.
Yeah.
It's not clear to me just what the makeup is.
What it is the regional districts up and down the line, the First Nations up and down the line. The regional district and the First Nations get to appoint a board member. They also appoint what they call a members' representative, which doesn't appear to have too much in the way of a function historically. So it's basically a partnership between First Nations and the regional districts, and implicitly through the regional districts, the municipalities as well.
Okay, so in effect, we have representation already sitting at that table.
Yeah, Bill McKay is actually appointed by the RDN to sit on the board, not by the City of Nanaimo.
I kind of figured that. The other thing that's not clear here is exactly how many members are being sought, because it just says that we are being requested to appoint a member, and it appears it would only meet twice a year, and that reading between the lines, the purpose is so that ICF and Southern Railway staff can provide responses to first-hand concerns being expressed. I must say I'm with the mayor on this. I fail to really grasp what the purpose of this is, and how what the utility of this would be. And I'm speaking to something that hasn't been moved, and I'd actually prefer not to see it moved at all, because I'm reluctant to support any appointment to a committee that really doesn't seem clear to me what we're sending them for.
Mr. McRae, what's the next regular meeting?
For our council, Your Worship, will be the 25th.
Thank you.
Yes.
Okay. Councillor Coker?
Similar line of questions as Councillor Neary there. Just a clarification there. So the board is one representative from each regional district and one from each First Nation?
Yeah.
And the members are?
The members' representatives are, I would necessarily say this, not quite the same thing.
But a second person from each one
Yeah.
of those? I would see what we need another level for.
Well, like I said, I think some of this came out of some of the pushback that's coming from the regional district, but also Stu Young and Langford, whose main concerns revolved around what his municipality was being charged for a non-existent rail line. And when it comes to it, like for example, we pay $800 and change a month for the crossings that we have, whether they're maintained or not. It's just a flat fee. City of Nanaimo's paying for their crossings. They're looking to redo some of their intersections, and the cost of accommodating the rail through those areas for a train that's not running is in the hundreds of thousands of dollars for each intersection. Langford's was $50,000 to do with a trail by the rail. So it appears to be coming out of operational concerns rather than management concerns. So,
Could I suggest that if we're going to give this any purchase at another meeting, could our competent staff be requested to send a return letter asking, quote, what is the highly regulated environment the Island Corridor Foundation operates within, and how rates and fees are set and by whom? And secondly, and I'm quoting from the letter, and secondly, what is the role and function of this membership committee that they are soliciting?
is that a motion?
It is a motion.
Okay.
I'll second that.
Second by Councillor Colclough. Discussion on the motion. The motion's a good one. The aspect of that first part, it'd be interesting to see how they respond to that, and it could just be Transportation Act, whatever, and that's fine in that regard. But yeah, and it follows up consistency with what's going to be considered at the regional board in my mind, so it's a good thing. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all those in favor? Opposed? Motion carried. Question to staff, do we have to actually defer this to a later meeting, or is the request for more information good enough? Good enough? Okay. Any further on the ICF letter? Okay, verbal updates. Councillor Swain.
Well, spoke to Ian Thorpe, or Councillor Ian Thorpe with Nanaimo this past weekend, and the Nanaimo Park and Rec Commission, there's no, I guess, end in sight in terms of when they're going to reconvene, so there's nothing ready for me to report on this end.
Okay, Councillor Amy.
I attended briefly the ADICC, a couple of discussions. They were okay. Good to see some of the members again and have a chance to talk to them about issues in their community. That's about it.
Councillor Colclough.
Well, I attended the whole AVICC, so on a nice sunny weekend. It's kind of difficult looking out the window every once in a while, but it was very worthwhile. I thought the sessions were good. As Councillor Haynes noted, there was some good networking. So it was very worthwhile.
Councillor Neri.
Thank you, Your Worship. I also attended the AVICC. The keynote speaker, Chief Dr. Robert Joseph, was from Reconciliation Canada, was very interesting and brought a truly conciliatory message, didn't he?
Fantastic. Yeah.
It was really good to hear him speak. I found that the sessions were kind of short, so you only got a taste, but nevertheless interesting. I attended Local Government and First Nations, Foundational Legal Principles, which was interesting, and a very interesting session on social procurement, which seems to be the latest phrase that I think we might be hearing lots more about. It's a new approach to economic development involving procurement at municipal or any other level.
Councillor Colson.
Yeah, I want to share some numbers, as I've been chatting with various folks over the past few weeks as we head into our budget approval steps. So, year end, December 31st, 2004. Total expenses for the district of Lancehill at the time were $2,164,000. Salaries, wages, and benefits in that year, $462,467. Jump forward 10 years, year end December 31st, 2014. Total expenses for the district were $2.9 million. Salaries, wages, and benefits, $1.03 million. So in 10 years, our salaries, wages, and benefits went up $568,000. If you look at the total jump in expenses over that 10-year period, it was $750,000. And so 75% of that jump is due strictly to salaries, wages, and benefits. Looking at it a different way, if you take the salaries, wages, and benefits from 2004, index it at 2% over 10 years, you come up with $563,000. So we are about $460,000 above where one might have expected us to be, kind of status quo with inflation over a 10-year period. I'll offer a couple other numbers here actually while I'm speaking. Looking at the $462,000 as a function of our total expenses, it was 21%. If you look at where we are at the end of 2014, our salaries, wages, and benefits represented 35% of our total expenditures. Just thought I'd pass those on for consideration. Thank you.
Councillor Guzman.
I'd like to commend all those members of council who made it to the AVIC. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to do that as I was aerating my lawn. From what I've heard from Councillor Colson, especially, and from what I heard from Councillor Neary, that Chief Joseph, was that his name? And the reconciliation was a really important message, similar to what I heard from Chief Sean Aplio at VIU, that we're all Canadians and we have to find solutions to move ahead. And I'm glad that that message was put out.
Okay. For myself, one of the key things at EDICC was the discussion revolving around Island Corridor Foundation. On the Saturday, there was a resolution requesting the federal government release the funding, $7.5 million that they're holding with regards to the upgrades. That passed quite handily. Then on the Sunday was the resolution with respect to having a financial and governance review of the Island Corridor Foundation, as well, kind of based on a visual that passed quite handily as well. So it appears to be want to get on with things, but maybe not in this format or with these individuals when it comes to the governance. So I think one of the biggest challenges for ADICC in terms of the motion is going to be to define what a financial and governance review actually is, because that's not defined in the motion itself. And I'm sure some people have different, or people will have different interpretations of it. So it doesn't mean that the railway is dead, because there's still a request for the funding, but like I said, when it comes to the governance side, there appears to be some disclosures. So, yes, Councillor Smith.
Sorry, I said one thing to add to my councillor update. Just wanted to throw a big shout out to John Dunn and his efforts for leading the shoreline cleanup this past weekend. I wish I actually could have attended it, but I was at this AVIC thing as well. And you know, it's great to see that community leadership come out and do such a great thing. So just wanted to throw that out, John Dunn.
Councillor Bullock, did you have something to say?
Yeah, just going back to the keynote speaker there on Friday afternoon, those sessions were all recorded. And I'm just wondering, do you know if they're going to be
I asked the mayor in Nanaimo, and he hadn't gotten back to me with respect to it.
Yeah, I went and checked that out, and I think for 2015 everything was listed for the presentations into PowerPoint, but I don't know if there's any actual recordings of actual
So cameras there, so
Okay.
ideally it'd be great if
Some
we
of
could
it's
get
there.
up and- Yeah.
Okay. Mr. McCray?
Yes, Your Worship, should council want that information, staff can always follow up and find out whether we can get a hold of it or not.
Yeah, be great. Go on. Okay, any further there? Okay, hearing none, the CEO's report, first quarter report provided for information.
Move receipt.
Received by Councillor Colclough, seconded by Councillor Neary. Discussion? Councillor Coulson.
Question regarding the water. Is there any update yet on the yield of the newly drilled well to the staff?
Through your worship, not at this time. We've had to go and get another pump to handle the current well, so we should hear back from our Director of Public Works, I believe, late this week, early next week.
Councillor Galloway.
Is it true there's flooding in Lower Lansville from that new well, though?
It's called a creek well.
And rain.
Okay.
A gusher.
Anything further? Okay, hearing none, all those in favor? Opposed? Motion carried. Motion's carried forward from the Committee of the Whole meeting. Just before we move the first one, just to clarify with staff, the Class 2, should it say tax multiple of 40, or is it a tax rate of $40?
It is a tax rate of 40. There's a regulation that sets a cap on the amount. It's a cap for the tax rate, not the tax multiple. That's correct.
Just wanted to confirm. Okay, so first item with regards to the tax rate bylaw, Council wants to consider what's coming forward from the Committee of the Whole. Motion to be to pass this. Moved by Councillor Colclough, seconded by Councillor Ginsberg. Discussion on the tax rate bylaw. Councillor.
Oh, never mind. I know my answer.
Okay. Any further? All those in favor? Opposed? Motion carried. The reduction of the financial plan grants in aid amount for $750. Moved by Councillor Haines, seconded by Councillor Colclough. Discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor? Opposed? Motion carried. The instruction to staff with regards to budget deviations.
So moved.
As presented by Councillor Haines, seconded by Councillor Neary. Discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor? Opposed? Motion carried. Council discretionary.
So moved.
Councillor Haines, seconded by Councillor Neary. Discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? Motion carried. The April 4th Committee of the Whole is the IT one.
So moved.
Moved by Councillor Haines. This is the reduction one. Seconded by Councillor Swain. Discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor? Opposed? Motion carried. And then instructing staff to prepare terms of reference for water master plan and associated consultant. Moved by Councillor Colclough, seconded by Councillor Haines. Discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor? Opposed? Motion carried. Okay, next item with regards to the town hall meeting for the expansion of water supply. The previous motion from council made reference to May. For it, staff has looked at available dates with regards to Coston Hall and identified June the 2nd, which in my mind carries on with the spirit of what the motion itself was. So we're just looking for direction from council for the actual scheduling of that meeting.
So moved.
Moved by Councillor Haines, seconded by Councillor Swain. Discussion? Hearing none, all's in favor? Opposed? Motion carried. Gets us to bylaws. With regards to it, financial plan bylaw number 120-2016, first reading. Technically, yeah, we do because of bylaws. Yeah, sorry about that. Yeah. You get it at the very end where they have pages and pages, and you just say, okay, you're going to move, you're going to second it, and just do this. So, unfortunately, we can't do that. So, first reading, financial plan bylaw. Moved as presented by Councillor Colclough, seconded by Councillor Swain. Thank you. Discussion? Councillor Coulson.
I'll start with my broader statement. I would invite councillors not to support this budget right now for reasons we just spoke to in the verbal updates. We've got to get a handle on salaries, wages, and benefits in this community. And by not approving this budget, sending it back to staff with the objective of having a critical look at how we staff positions, how we pay positions, and try and get a handle on this trend that we've clearly established over 10 years. One of the biggest obligations I think residents give us when they vote for us to have a chair at this table is to be sound stewards of their finances, and clearly the data doesn't show that we're doing that. So I really strongly think we should get a better handle on that. That was my comment. So my questions. Property taxes, page 23. Under 2016, it shows $1,746,113. On the draft budget we have from March 29th, on tab 2, page 1, it shows the property taxes being $1,587,359. What's the difference there, if I can ask through the staff?
Through the mayor, the line of the property taxes includes other items than directly the property taxes that are collected for general municipal purposes. For the budget purposes, it also includes the amount for the library that's to be reported on here. It also includes the 1% utilities for utilities, as well as the PILT. So it's just not the amount of property taxes that's collected.
Okay. May I keep going? So parcel taxes as well. Shows on page 23 shows 514,000. On what we see here in our tab 2 budget, it shows 194,000.
I'm afraid I'm not sure specifically what's being looked at for the comparison.
So-
The parcel tax would include water and sewer parcel tax.
Is that also included already in parks and regional parks and trails?
The one specific for the parks and trails is listed separately on the notice, the property tax notice. It doesn't run through. Anything to do specific to the page at RDN doesn't run through there.
So the answer was there's the other parcel taxes for the other functions, separate from the general side of things.
Okay, so allow me to skip right to a total revenue number then, hopefully which will capture everything. So the total revenue we show on page 23 under 2016 is $4.2 million. On page 3 of tab 2 for our budget, we show the total revenue being $3.4 million.
So maybe let's go back to the second question first of all. The item that you're looking at under tab 2 is just the general fund. We also have the water and the sewer fund as well. So the financial plan bylaw incorporates all three funds of the district, where on tab 2 is also the general fund. And so that's the difference again. So tab 2 is just the general fund. It's not incorporated water and sewer, which is being incorporated in the financial plan bylaw.
Sorry, I'm just trying to see that because on the last revision, I guess we didn't get a complete detail on the last revision we got because there is no water fund revenue in here.
It's a separate tab. I believe it's 5 and 6. Tab 5 and 6. So it's adding all three tabs up. The other item to keep in mind with the financial plan bylaw, there's also the capital budget and capital funding is included in there.
Okay, thank you.
Councilor Hain.
Just a couple questions for the staff. So this budget captures all the changes we just voted on tonight?
Correct.
Okay. And we haven't been provided then with the detailed budget with those changes, correct?
That is correct, yes.
Okay. And this budget that we have before us tonight, in the middle it says shows an annual surplus, but is it really the bottom line that's showing that there's no surplus?
That is correct. That annual line where it says annual surplus, that's what's going to tie to the financial statements next year. However, as a whole, you actually have no surplus at zero. So at the bottom of it says financial plan balance, zero, so you don't actually have a surplus. It's tying the difference from accounting between the financial plan that shows the expenditure versus the financial statements that shows the expense.
Yeah, it's not
This
really.
is very complex.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I get that. But that's really not a surplus then. That's just
That's
basically
right.
funding for these changes that are coming down below.
Yeah, so there isn't a planned surplus for the budget.
Okay, because I was going to say there is no surplus in the budget plan that we have, so it's a little confusing. Looks like there is on here.
Yeah, I agree, because ultimately, I like to see the revenues, the expenses, the surplus, the tax rate, kind of four things at a glance. And I'm struggling with all this. So, yeah.
Add to the budget. Just for the information of council, as well as the audience, I asked the Director of Finance to give me the percentage increase for the 5 years, recognizing that we don't have the updated Tab 2s. 2016, 1.04%. 2017 shows currently is 3.16%. 2018 shows is 4.13%. 2019, 0.16%. And 2020 minus 0.2%. So effectively over the 5 years, just kind of eyeballing it here, roughly about 8%. But yes, this year shows it's 1%. And keep in mind that that includes absorbing the cost of a paid fire chief as well as the staff raises of 2% in that, and yet we're only at a 1% tax increase. Councillor Hain?
And I agree that it's a good job. But I think Councillor Coulson makes some good points. I think we should be looking at how we can run a more efficient operation. Wage concerns are a huge issue. When you're over $1 million in salaries and it's climbing, it is a concern for residents when nothing has changed here. I guess the fear for people is if we do have development, where is wages going to go? Because we're at this significant increase over 10 years with nothing. I can imagine it'll get bigger as we look at future development. And no one can prove to me that residential density reduces taxes. I guess that's not true.
Councillor Colpott.
Well, we have a much improved water system with new reservoirs, all kinds of new equipment and treatment. We have 2 phases of a sewer system. They all take operation and maintenance. Those are just 2 things. So I can go back to tell you what it was like in 1982 when I was there.
It was you.
Yeah.
That was it.
Just about.
Okay. Further comments, questions? Okay. So we're on first reading. Any further discussion?
Recorded vote.
Recorded vote. Okay. All those in favor? Councillor Swain, Councillor Colpott, Councillor Desbert, Councillor Neary, and Mayor Hain opposed. Councillor Coulson and Councillor Hain. Second reading.
Second reading.
Councillor Colpott, second by Councillor Neary. Discussion. Like I said, from my standpoint, if you look at the basics of where things started with absorbing the cost of a paid fire chief, as well as the staff increases, it would have been quite easy to justify a larger percentage tax increase. One of the aspects of kind of going through this and in discussions with staff is the opportunity to identify further reductions. It's a longer term process, and it's a philosophy that's got to be kind of stuck with to make sure that things are chipped away at effectively. And I include in that the management of staff and also looking for opportunities for different ways of doing things. One of the changes from 2004 to 2014, for example, revolves around the planning. Planning wasn't part of the staff figure, it was part of the consultants figure. And when it came to the incorporation study, one of the key things was to try and work more on a consulting type basis as opposed to a staff basis. So I would like to see again the planning process financial planning process start earlier, as was intended last year, but staff changes precluded that. Because I'm looking at it now, things like the 2018, yeah, there's an election cost in there. There's also in those, something to keep in mind, that 2018 is a $15,000 per year CP planning process as well, things that weren't in budgets previously or allowances weren't paid for. So there are some additional items that create that increase over the 5-year plan, but my goal is to still get those particular years down to something more manageable. So as long as we're going forward and making progress like that, I'm okay with it. If it's a case that things start swinging the other way, that's when I start to get worried. Any further discussion on second reading? Hearing none, all those in favor? Opposed? Motion carried. Third reading, Councilor Colclough, second by Councilor Neary. Any further discussion? Sorry, any discussion?
Do I have to ask each time for recorded? Oh, sorry, recorded vote.
Okay. Okay, any further discussion? Okay, all those in favor? Councilor Swain, Councilor Colclough, Councilor Neary, and Councilor Geselbrecht, raise your hand. Opposed? Councilor Coulson and Councilor Hayden, motion carried. Okay, which then leads us to the tax rates bylaw. And I assume that this is based on the budget that's presented.
Correct.
Make sure. Okay, so we need two separate readings of the tax rates bylaw.
So
Moved by Councilor Colclough, seconded by Councilor Neary. Discussion. Hearing none, all those in favor? Opposed? Motion carried. Second reading.
so moved.
Councilor Colclough, Councilor Neary, thank you. Discussion. Hearing none, all those in favor? Opposed? Motion carried. Third reading. Councilor Colclough, Councilor Swain.
Oh, you got me.
Discussion.
Recorded.
Recorded vote. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Councilor Swain, Councilor Colclough, Councilor Neary, and Councilor Geselbrecht, and Mayor Hain opposed. Councilor Hain and Councilor Coulson, motion carried. Okay, this is the water rates bylaw. Same deal, 3 readings.
So
Councilor Colclough, thank you. Second by Councilor Neary.
This is like an exorcism.
Discussion. We got the whole water discussion. Hearing none, all those in favor? Opposed? Motion carried. Second reading, Councilor Colclough, second by Councilor Neary. Discussion. Hearing none, all those in favor? Opposed? Motion carried. Third reading, Councilor Colclough, Councilor Swain, thank you. Discussion. Hearing none, all those in favor? Opposed? Motion carried. Sewer rates. Moved by Councilor Neary. Seconded by Councilor Colclough. Discussion. Hearing none, all those in favor? Opposed? Motion carried. Second reading. Councilor Colclough, seconded by Councilor Neary. Discussion. Hearing none, all those in favor? Opposed? Motion carried. Third reading. Councilor Colclough, Councilor Swain. Discussion. Hearing none, all those in favor? Opposed? Motion carried. Miscellaneous fees and charges bylaw. And again, we're looking for 3 readings on that one too.
So moved.
Councilor Swain, Councilor Colclough. Discussion. Councilor Coulson.
Page 46, other services, managerial staff, no, actually I'll back up. The district may impose an additional fee equal to the costs incurred by the district to provide that work or service. Managerial staff, $40 per hour. We wish.
Yeah, we're,
Page 46, under other services.
okay.
Either if we are indeed imposing it equal to the costs incurred by the district, that is not a correct number, or is that just a number we throw in as a token fee to capture some of them?
Question to staff, I'd just suspect this is just a historical number that's been in this file.
Through your worship, the Director of Financial Services for comment.
This bylaw was last updated in 2004, so all of the rates are quite outdated. At the moment, we're just adding in the section regarding garbage so that we can collect that on the property tax notice in May when it's sent out. The whole bylaw will be coming back to council for consideration later in the year, looking at all of the rates to make sure that they reflect current costs. So everything included in the bylaw, because now it's been 12 years since those rates were last updated.
Just following up on that, recognizing these are miscellaneous fees and charges and they're not tied to the tax notice itself, we can update them at any time.
That is correct, yes.
Okay. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor? Opposed? Motion carried. We do note that when staff brings that back, it gives us the opportunity to adjust it. So just kind of sooner rather than later with regards to some of these items. Second reading?
So moved.
Councillor Swain, Councillor Neary, discussion. Seeing none, all's in favor? Opposed? Motion carried. Third reading.
So moved.
Councillor Swain, Councillor Colclough. Discussion. Seeing none, all's in favor? Opposed? Motion carried. Regional Parks and Trails. 1, 2, and 3. Moved by Councillor Colclough, seconded by Councillor Swain. Discussion. Hearing none, all those in favor? Opposed? Motion carried. Second reading. Councillor Colclough, Councillor Swain. Discussion. Hearing none, all those in favor? Opposed? Motion carried. And third reading.
So moved.
Councillor Swain, Councillor Colclough. Discussion. Hearing none, all those in favor? Opposed? Motion carried. Next item, motion on the agenda by Councillor Coulson.
Yep, so I move that, do I have to read the whole thing? Yes.
The whereas you don't have to. The actual resolution down the bottom is the legal aspect of it, I guess.
Okay. Be it resolved, the council requests that staff clarify the extent of the design estimate with Coors and Associates Engineering and report back to council and provide, first point, clarity on the area/boundary defined by, quote, the winds as presented in the water supply and distribution system study. Second bullet, confirmation on the number of homes covered in the winds catchment area as presented in the water supply and distribution system study.
Seconded by Councillor Colclough. Discussion.
Yeah, I made that because during the delegation presentation it was quite clear that there's a lack of clarity on some of those items, and it needs to be clarified so that we understand, as we refer to the winds area, what is that, the number of homes being serviced, the piping network. Yeah.
Okay. Councillor Neary.
Thank you, Your Worship. I'm wondering what the utility of doing this is right now, in view of the fact that we will be undertaking a master plan for water in the near future. I can understand the need to establish different areas, how many homes may not need and request water down in the future. But at this point, I have to ask what the use of this information will be to us right now. It's kind of interesting to know, but I don't understand the purpose. I think, yeah, if you're curious, this would answer the question, but I'm just not sure why we would ask that to do this now, I stand to be corrected, when I am presuming that during the process for developing the master plan, this information will be teased out and established.
Councillor Coulson, it's your motion, so if you want
Yeah, sure. Yeah, we paid for this work. It was on the terms of reference for the study that Coors did. And there's clearly a lack of clarity on what has been presented. The terms of reference said servicing Northwind/Southwind area. All the local residents here would assume that to mean Northwind, Southwind, Lorenzen. Yes? When you look at the map that was attached, during the presentation, Coors said that area serviced 190 homes. There's not 190 homes in Northwind, Southwind, and Lorenzen. When you look at their supply map, it shows a boundary of 190 lots that is well beyond the Northwind, Southwind area. So we need to clarify that, because part of their scope of work was to provide a Class D cost estimate. Very hard to develop a cost per home number when you have no idea what number of homes you're servicing. The other challenge that is in this is if it is indeed this area of 190 lots, that also goes down into Lower Lanarkshire, which we can't actually service utilizing the water agreement the way it's currently written. So there's a few key points. This should be a 10-minute conversation with them to clarify this, and then get back to us to clarify what the intent was. Where the pipe's running, for the cost numbers they put forward, there's three line items. One of them was for servicing quote unquote the winds. They just need to clarify that and the number of homes. That's really quick. All it's about.
Thanks.
Councillor Cole.
Yeah, I think, at this point, the residents of the Winds are happy that things are moving forward, but this would help clarify the numbers in the report that Councillor Colson's referring to. And, my guess, if I look at the map there, even though there is a little bit of a line in the center, it looks to me like what they've included in the Winds includes the area either side of Superior Road going up to the Winds, because so it just needs to be clarified. And it should be a 5 or 10 minute comment. Or, shouldn't be a difficult thing to get.
Sorry, were you looking at the map with the red grid or the?
No.
Okay, yeah.
Very good. The point is, it should be easy to clarify.
Yes.
Should. And it would give the residents of the Winds a little more clarity.
Okay. Further discussion?
In other words, not a windy report.
No.
Question to staff with respect to this request, an expectation of any cost associated with it? Cost?
Be minimal cost, Your Worship. We'll be speaking with Coors tomorrow and see if we can get them to do this quick information piece and get it to the next council meeting.
Okay. Any further discussion? Okay, hearing none. All those in favor of the motion? Opposed? Motion carried. Which gets us to public participation.
I have a question on the CAO report. Can I ask a question on that? It was on page 16 of the agenda, and under number 1, general highlights, the third paragraph talked about the review of the water agreement and has provided suggestions to council for consideration. A document will be prepared for the public outlining the proposed amendments and justification for those amendments. And then down further on number 2A, the last paragraph, says council's accepted the proposed amendments. A letter will be sent to Nanaimo Mayor and Council requesting a review, as well as a report prepared for the residents of Lancel outlining proposed amendments with rationale. So my question was, I have to assume that all these discussions were in camera when you were talking about the water agreement. So my first question is that when will the letter be sent to Nanaimo? Do we have a date for that, or
It
estimated?
has gone.
Oh, it has already gone? Okay.
I believe it was today.
Yes.
Today.
Today? Okay, thank you. I was wondering if you can tell me, if in the letter was there sort of a request for Nanaimo to respond within a period of time, or was it open-ended, or?
Mr. McRae?
Through Your Worship, yes, the letter now has been distributed to the City of Nanaimo. It is requesting that they entertain the information. It does have to go onto a council meeting for the review, so we cannot fetter their council with deciding when it goes to their council for decision.
Okay.
And saying that I have met with the CEO at Nanaimo and expressed our interest that this matter be moved forward as quickly as possible.
And then as part of both those paragraphs, it talks about a report for the residents of Lancel. And I was wondering if that report was going to be presented at the June 2nd town hall meeting.
Mr. McRae, you're as the author of the report.
Through Your Worship, the plan was to move that report actually much more expediently than that and have it for the April 25th meeting.
Thank you.
Okay. Stay tuned. Additional discussion or participation. Mr. Dempsey.
John Dempsey, 6930 Owen Road. First of all, I'm glad to see that Councilor are taking an interest in the AVICC reporting back on the educational value of such things, and also representing our community when it comes to voting on different resolutions that end up potentially being new BC law if it gets to the UBCM. Anyway, I did want to report that I went to the Nanaimo water plant ribbon cutting ceremony, and want to point out that no one was there from the Lanceville Council. The water quality produced at this plant is exceptional and extremely high quality water at a reasonable cost. And I brought all I could carry. That's all they're giving me. Lanceville has an opportunity to buy this high quality water. Look at Parksville, Ladysmith, and now Cedar, who are all faced with building a very expensive water treatment plant. The Epcor water system in French Creek now has set water DCC at $19,000. Nanoose is about half that. What is the value of clean, safe drinking water? And it now seems council has debated the budget, and the proposed tax increase is not unexpected. All seem fine, except there is no money left to pay for the Port Theatre. The Nanaimo City Council expects more since the rest of the rural areas pay $15,000 with no option for water supply. And as long as there is no real growth in this community, it's the same people who will continue to pay the increased costs. In discussions with the city councilor about Lanceville Council wanting changes to the agreement, I was told, quote, "Good luck with that," unquote. I think anyone with a common sense realizes that the official county plan population projection cannot be obtained without an additional water supply. In 2014, it was suggested that there would be double-digit tax increases, reserves depleted, and spending was out of control. Statements were made that there was too many staff, and some councillors suggested that there could be a 25% reduction in taxes. Well, the district is now into its second budget of this council term, and there's the same number of staff at the same or higher wages. The staff are working hours, more hours than the 0.6 that they were hired for. So who's kidding who? An OCP review and water plan consultants being hired, so there seems to be no problem spending money. Some councillors still seem to be trying to do staff's role. One councillor said that he did not know who is going to pay for the new reservoir. It's not really that difficult. That would be the existing water users, unless the developer contributes or the gas tax money is used. The reservoir must be replaced with or without development. And I believe gas tax money should benefit the entire community. At the Nanaimo water plant opening, Councillor Chris Good of Sinaimo First Nations talked about them getting water to their members who had contaminated well water. He could have been describing what a few unfortunate residents here have to put up with. He pointed out how important water is. And water is what they needed to advance their members' opportunity to see economic development. Seems to me he has it figured out. Have you?
Just a question for clarification. You said there's no money for the Port Theatre?
We're only contributing $9,000, City of Nanaimo. I hope they will look at it, but the council I talked to believes that we're paying $15,000. We've only been paying $9,000. He was a little shocked at that.
Okay. Councillor Folsom.
Sorry, I'll also comment on one of the facts Mr. Dempsey brought forward. District staff, it's on camera, reported December strategic plan session, said there's enough water in the district to meet the OCP buildup. And they said we need the Nanaimo water just for backup. So I would ask that he reflects on that too.
I heard the same thing. And so you can't do it without the city backup.
As backup. But you said it's clear that we don't have enough water to meet the OCP buildup and we need the Nanaimo water.
Well, you interpret how you want to interpret it. I'll have to interpret how I interpret it.
Fair enough.
Yes.
Okay, any additional participation? None. Motion to adjourn.
Oh, second.
All those in favor? Opposed? Motion carries.